Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
and we are here with my friend and drummer extraordinaire, Richard Medek. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and I'm so excited that we get a chance to chat.
Yeah, and I still cannot believe that you thought this was a good idea, and I'm just I'm completely thrilled and flattered that you think anything I'm gonna say is gonna be remotely interesting to anyone who's watching. So
Well, only because I've talked to you in the past, and you always have good stories. So I'm excited to hear more.
oh, good.
And
Yeah,
you play with, literally dozens of people.
yeah. I mean, I always have. But it's been a little less than that, half by choice, kind of. Last year was a little much. Um, that's a long story in itself. But this year has been the first year that I've been really, really cognizant about trying to only say yes to certain people because just life is really hard and it's a whole string of long stories. Being a musician as a sideman, like you just have to play with a lot of people. That's just it. Unless who you're playing with is very successful and busy all the time. And most of the people that I play with are busy in spurts. So there's like lots of stuff in one moment, and then you have to find something else to do with the downtime. And before you know it, you're playing with like 12 different people, and you're just trying to balance schedules, and it's a whole thing. And with COVID, and I have a family, and just scheduling is becoming harder and harder, and it's things that don't seem very busy like become very busy, because you have all these like snippets of time that are eaten away at all these different areas. So this year is the first year where I'm trying to be really cognizant about like just saying yes to a certain group of people and then rolling the dice that it's a smart financial decision by the end of the year.
Well, tell us about some of the people you're saying yes to and why.
Sure. Well, my main dude is this Eric Koskinen, who you guys probably know.
I am maybe familiar. Yes,
You're
we've had him on the show
Eric?
even. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean the broader audience, thousands and thousands of people
Thousands.
to my every word. So mostly Eric is he's always been a priority of mine for a really long time, and with COVID kind of slowing things down, it makes the ramp up to a busier year kind of all that more important, because now all of a sudden there are a lot of shows and things start to matter a little bit more. And I love playing with Eric. I could talk, this whole interview could be me talking about how much fun it is to play with Eric. So I generally will always try to say yes to Eric if I can. And then I have a few band projects that I'm working on, and I have a few albums that I'm working on with other people right now, and they're taking up little chunks of time. I play with Mary Bew a lot. That's been a new one. I just thought of that because we just played at the Astor Cafe yesterday, day before, I can't remember, a few days ago, and that was super fun. And just recorded a single with her. I did her record a couple years ago. Last year I played a fair amount with Chris Koza. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chris Koza, brilliant singer, songwriter. The studio that I'm in now, this is my studio in Northeast Minneapolis, and Chris is actually my studio mate. He has there's like a control room here that's his own project studio. So I get to see him every now and then. He's been busy with other projects, but I hold a place in my heart for more Chris Koza stuff. And I'm in a band called The Fragrance, which has been fun. Got a couple of dates. I don't know. There's all sorts. I guess I'm not good about saying yes to one person. So all that other stuff, that was a lie. I'm sorry. But I'm trying to say yes to very few people. So there you go. Okay.
I was gonna say one that you haven't mentioned that I have only seen you play once, but I saw more of your flair than I have, because usually you are like a steady Eddie, very professional. You know what you're doing and you bang it out and do it. But hang on, where is it? The Too Fast to Die or something? Too Fast for the Devil.
Too Fast for the Devil. Oh, I can always
Oh.
say yes to those guys because we only play like 2 shows a year. Okay, first of all,
Make that happen more, please, because that
thank you for
was so much
suggesting
fun.
that I'm professional because 90% of the time I'm not that guy. If you've watched me with Eric,
I don't know.
and
I don't.
yeah, and can attest that half of the time it's flailing around with way too many bad ideas. Too Fast for the Devil is Jeremy Ilvasacker. I always assume that nobody knows who I'm talking about, but everyone knows Jeremy Ilvasacker. He's a brilliant guitar player. He's played with actual people of importance, and yet he has chosen to put together a Motley Crue tribute band that somehow I wormed my way into doing. We play like 2 shows a year. It's utterly ridiculous. We play like the best 6 Motley Crue songs that we know. I mean, we literally have like a 26-minute set, and it is so much fun to just be Tommy Lee and just let out some aggression for a couple moments. And like that's a band I could talk for an hour about. It's a really fun band. I wish we played more. It's really fun.
I do too. I see it paired with, you know how they have the do-over prom again for people that of our vintage get to dress up in that.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's a thing.
Oh, it's a thing. It's a
I'm
thing.
in it. Okay, I could use
I
one.
know. Right? We all could. And I think that band could be one of the bands where all of us get to behave like we want to behave most days.
I feel like we're a little scary to be a good prom band. Maybe we don't end there. Yeah. We really try to bring a little bit of the set, just for those of you who aren't initiated in the ridiculousness of this band. There's like 6 songs off the first 2 records that we all agree are like the best songs. And we also like playing them like maybe a little slower and a little spookier, and just, I don't know, we like to be a little more theatrical about it, or like find the heaviest riff. That's kind of like Jeremy's thing, is just find the heaviest riff and then spend like 7 minutes on it. And that's where it all starts. But then the set, as it gets further along, like there's only so much you can do with that. Like once you hit smoking in the boys' room, you're just smoking in the boys' room. You're just having a great time. So it starts off very theatrical for the first 6 minutes, and then it gets like more and more party band as the night goes on. But again, it's a less than 30-minute set. We don't have very much after that. But yeah, so we'd have to play like the last half of our set for all the prom goers, and then save the first half for the theater crowd.
Maybe a little goth prom, a little regular prom.
I'm totally up for it. I said I was going to say yes to only a few people. I'm already saying yes to projects that don't even exist. But I'll talk to Jeremy. We'll make it happen. We'll book a new
parking
prom
lot, whatever we need.
Yeah.
I feel like it can happen though.
That's fantastic.
How did that idea even? What inspired that?
I wasn't there for the beginning of it, but as I understand it, it was Jeremy doing a show where Billy Thomas, Billy Thomas is now drumming with Hairball, right? Speaking of hair metal of the days, but Billy Thomas is like an incredible rock drummer, or just incredible drummer, you know. But I know him from a lot of rock he plays, and Andrew Suki, who is like Andrew Suki from Prairie Home Companion days and her own singer-songwriter stuff. And somehow they were all on a show and started talking about Motley Crue and decided that this would be a brilliant idea to put this band together. So they put the band together. And then I joined on because I subbed for Billy Thomas one day. He, like a lot of the work I do is just kind of subbing for other people. That's another topic this could go on and on for about. But he couldn't make a gig. I filled in with him, and and then he got super busy, and I just kept coming back and back and back, and so there you go. Then we had a cover band, and it kind of blossomed from there as we learned less and less songs. But the truth is it's a ridiculous concept. I mean, it is. But like all of music is ridiculous. Like when it comes down to it, it's all ridiculous. It's a blessing that any of us are doing this, and it's fun to sit in that mindset, and it's legitimately like rewarding to play any goofy music where you can like distill the energy of it into one thing. And with Motley Crue, it's like the riffs and the boogie and the intensity, and share that with everyone on stage. And we've always talked about it, like this is way too much fun for what should be ridiculous, but it's great. And the band is it's incredible. It's Mike, I'm gonna mispronounce his last name, and I always ask him and I always forget. Jaronson. Anyway, Mike Jaronson. So I think you pronounce your last name. Sorry, Mike, if I got it wrong. Incredible guitar player, plays with Jeremy Andrzejewski. Different bass players, Charles Hayes. Charles, God, I'm forgetting all my people. And Jimmy.
Yep.
What's his last name? Jimmy, what's your last name? I can't even remember. I know all these guys from text messages, so I just see like their first names.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think what's his band that we have talked to him. Savage Moods. Was it Jimmy from Savage
And he
Moods?
plays with Lydia Liza, and he's incredible, and he's so much fun. Charles moved off to Mexico City, and anyway, I'm doing a bad job of saying how good the band is. All you guys are fantastic. It's really fun.
You are. I was gonna say, when you were saying how fun it is to play and stuff, when I was reading something on your site, it says, in this crazy world, music and art is more important than ever. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Tell me why what has brought that more to your attention than more for your own self, I guess.
Oh, I love that. That's a good question. That's deep. I have a lot of philosophies. I have a lot of opinions, as my friends know. Sorry, friends. But one of them is that music, not as like a concept, but I mean as like something you do, like music as a job or an occupational choice, or a choice of what to do with your time, if as a hobbyist or an aspiring musician, is inherently selfish, right? It is. I truly believe that. I don't necessarily mean it in a bad way. I just mean that there's no call that demands us personally deliver music to somebody else. And yet we do, because we're selfish and we want to. And if you do it.
Say you didn't get my messages then? I feel like I know what you're saying, but I don't know if I
Everyone says that, because when you say something like selfish, it has a very bad connotation to it, which I understand, because selfish usually means your own self-interest at the expense of other people. And what I just mean to say is that it's something that we choose to do for ourselves. It doesn't have an inherent need. We can't demand a connection from other people. Like, we don't have the right to go to other people and say, my music is so important that you must listen to it.
Yeah.
But what happens is, if you do this, play music or learn music, or you write songs or you perform for other people, and you're good enough, or you are, you don't even have to be good. You just, if for whatever reason you're able to form that connection with someone else, because what you're doing is inherently selfish, and because you can't expect anyone else to make that connection, and yet they do, then that bond that you have between the two of you, the audience and the musician, in whatever forms. It's beautiful. I mean, it's almost sacred because of that. And if anything has really taught me anything in the past couple of years, is that us, like human beings, we are terrible, terrible people. We're just horrific people. Just to, like, to stay topical, like, we're barely like scrambling our way out of a pandemic, and we're barely scrambling our way out of it because like society as a whole is more concerned about themselves than with helping other people in this. I'm talking about the broader picture, right? And then like we're barely crawling out of that, and in the news right now is one country still fighting over fossil fuels and imperialization, like as the world is burning at the same, like we're kind of a terrible species. We're really bad because of our own self-interests. And there are all these things that we are doing, that people are doing to stay sane in those times, and almost none of it is healthy, right? I mean, we want to think it is, but it's not. And it could be like, but there are all ways to like try to get self-connection with other people in this way that means something. I realize it's a really long explanation, but I promise I'm getting to a I'm getting to a thing.
Oh, no.
And so like we as people, like you and I and our community, we're waking up every day and we're facing all of this terrible, terrible shit that's going on. And all we're trying to do to overcome it, because we can't solve the world's problems. All we can do is solve ourselves. We are trying to make these connections with other people in any way we can, or make connections with ourselves. And some people are doing it in healthy ways, and a lot of us are like doom scrolling Instagram and like posting and praying for likes, or drinking too much, or staying up late, or just it's tough. This is what I'm saying. It's a really tough world. There's so much going on out of our control. There's so much people are trying to do to maintain that connection. To be someone who is working in music and art, and to have that music and art resonate with somebody else, like just to know that that connection can be pure and can mean whatever it needs to mean for the musician or for the audience. I think that's beautiful. I think we need it. I think it's one of the most pure forms we have of staying connected in a world that doesn't know how to do it right now very well.
It's
Not
a
saying
dance.
it's the only way.
Yeah. It's, it's just literally a dance, and we need it as much as you need it.
Yeah. Well, and my the thing that I always hear when I open that conversation, the thought that like music can be selfish, is people tend to say like, but that's not true because the audience needs what you do, but they don't need it from us. Like they I think that we need things like music and art. It's just that we as musicians can't command other people. Like, my music is the most important, we have to hope that what we're delivering is true. And that's why it makes the connection that much more powerful, I think. God, I hope any of that made sense. It's really important to me, and I don't know that I do a really good job of explaining it, but that's my attempt, my best attempt at doing that.
No, I think it was perfect, actually. And I do like the fact, because during this time where we're all struggling in any way, any of our own ways, and doing the deep dives even in ourselves, and some of the stuff we're discovering of ourselves, you can't articulate, but you can hear it in a song and go, I get that, or I'm connecting. And in our healthy way, I guess, to explain for when we can't do it ourselves, I guess.
Yeah.
So even if you don't think your whatever is the best way, I do think it grabs somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying like I'm important, but I that's what I meant when I wrote that. Like I just,
Yeah.
you know, and the truth is like I need it more than anyone. I mean, half of the reason I do the stuff that I keep doing is because that is how I feel connections with other people. I mean, honestly, it's like it's how I make friendships. It's how I keep relationships going. It's just the best way I've learned how to do it, which is to bond over some sort of art, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it's important. I think it's important.
Well, you talk about it's selfish to want to have the attention on you as opposed to somebody else. But the truth of the matter is, and this is something with the well-wired world that we have, is that the right people will find you.
Yeah, I hope so.
At the right time, you know, and you
Yeah.
play lots of different, you know, in lots of different permutations, but there, you know, there's a song for every moment, you know,
Right.
a moment for every song.
Right. Well, and the other truth is this, that good percentage of the time, like what the song actually means isn't what the audience is getting, you know? And I think that's great. I mean, I think it doesn't need to be. It's almost like a trope at this point, but a lot of times if you work with a songwriter who's very new, they are very, very concerned about the meaning of their songs to other people. You know, you can always see it like at a show. They'll go really deep into the meaning of a song before they actually play the song. It's really important, and I've noticed that the more experience people get as songwriters, the less that starts to matter. And some of that is just, it's just logistics. We need as many people to like our songs as possible. We don't want to exclude anyone. But really, it's because it's like looking at a piece of art. You know, like one person looks at a Picasso and is like, what a beautiful painting of this woman. And the next person is like, oh, it's like angular and irritating. And the artist clearly meant like me to feel some agitation. You know, everyone has a different way of absorbing these things. And one person's love song is like the other person's breakup song. It's, but I think it's great. So in a lot of ways, it's not about like finding the right match for audience to song. It's more about like, if you deliver your art well, then an audience can interpret it how they need to. And you just kind of hope that your message is the one that's getting across, but maybe it's not, but that's okay, you know? But what do I know? Most of the times I'll be playing drums. Just
Well, and I think there's some genre that are, you know, you listen to a love song, you listen to a singer-songwriter, you think you're going to get a story from it. And then, you know, I love noise, you know, and I gotta tell you, I don't know what, I mean, there are no words. Most noise music that I've gone to go see, I don't even know what ethos they're going for, but it fits what I need at the moment.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. Yeah. I don't even think forget it. I was gonna say something, but I don't even think it can be on the radio. It's kind of vulgar. I'm gonna leave it out. Maybe I'll tell you guys later.
All right then. Can you SPELL it?
Yeah. Well, okay. All right. Just for all the kids in the room, this is adult talk that's about to happen. Someone asked me, we had gotten a deep conversation about music and what makes good music and what makes bad music. And I said, the thing about it's so subjective. Like, it's so subjective. Some people hate this kind of music, and some people love it, and blah, 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 blah. But to me, as a musician, I'm always trying to deliver this. And as an audience member, I always try to get this. I feel that music has to make you feel a strong emotion of any kind. So if you listen to a song, it has to make you exceedingly sad or outrageously joyful, or just like want to fuck like crazy. That's the vulgar part. Or want to fight somebody, or want to let stuff, you know what I mean? Like
just like bust out something. Yeah.
Something visceral. That's why I'm using bad words. I feel like really good music makes you feel something visceral. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be like the most happy you've ever been or the most sad, but just has to move you in some way, you know? And that's to me, that's what really good music is. And it's usually, if I'm playing, I'm always trying to give that. And I'm always hoping that the audience, and I think as like the band I'm in, is always hoping that the audience feels that. And that's where the connection is, because you're moved and like you can actually feel parts of this, you know? It doesn't have to be deep, you just have to feel something. And it's why a lot of music isn't good, because it doesn't, because at one point you're too safe to really reach that area, you know? I'm not saying that is bad music, like safe music is bad. I'm just saying that's why safe music does not move me and a lot of other people that I know,
Well,
you know.
When I used to write a lot more reviews, used to write a lot more live reviews, and I would go to the show and you like, either let it be awesome, let it be something that just, you know, thrills me to my core, or let it be a train wreck. Just, I don't want something that's inoffensive and it's nice. You know, there's a time and a place for that. But when I'm going to a show, and I have seen some amazing train wrecks.
Right.
Again, fan of noise. I've seen some things that I've thoroughly enjoyed. But give me an experience. Let me feel something and give me an experience.
I'm 100% with you. Yeah. I love it. That's one of my favorite music sayings, actually. Do I have time for a story? I don't know what the time is. Can I just keep on talking? Keep on yakking? Okay. So this story, just to make it a little ways back, there's a really great friend of mine we haven't been able to talk to in a while because of COVID. This guy, Teddy Morgan, who is actually from here, but we lived together, or we lived in the same city and toured together for years and years and years. He's one of my best friends. Anyway, a long time ago, we lived in Nashville, and we were driving to this town on the border of Ohio and West Virginia called Pomeroy, which we always had a ton of fun playing. And it was Teddy and myself and a bass player who was a friend of ours named Park Chisholm. And Park was charting out the songs that we were going to play because he was filling in. You know, Teddy and I knew all these songs, but Park didn't. So he was charting them out, like writing out the chords and how the songs went. And Teddy says, you don't have to worry about that. We're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And Park says, well, no, I understand. You know, I don't want to get up there and like fuck up the show for everybody. I just want to make it real good. And Teddy says, he says, you're thinking about this all wrong. Like, you're thinking about music like a baseball game where you want to be a real strong pinch hitter. Like, you're going to come in and just like knock a solid double or single down the line and get the run in, which is like really the professional way to do it. But in this band, it's more like the home run derby. All you're doing all the time is swinging for the fences. Like every time you're just swinging for the fences, and you probably miss like 2 out of 3 times, but when you actually hit it, it's right out of the park. It's total home run. So that was his saying, and I've told that stupid story to 10,000 people who are so tired of hearing it, but it was my favorite. It's my favorite feeling about music. Like, you just always go for it. Like you said, like it's either got to move you or it's got to be a train wreck. Like, and that's kind of like, I don't always get to do that because I am a professional. For anyone out there
right,
who needs a drummer,
listening,
I will do a very good job. But the idea you play with bands where you have that ability to do that, and it's an amazing feeling, like just going for it at the risk of a train wreck, because if you don't train wreck, something really amazing is going to happen. That happens a lot with Eric. One of the reasons why I love playing with him is there's a lot of swinging for the fences, and some occasional miss, maybe a few times, but yeah, it's just going for it.
But that's why we love live music. I could be warmer. I could be, sitting at home listening to an album if I wanted perfection.
Right.
But I see a lot of music.
Right. I know you're at pretty much at every show that has
Pretty
been a
much every
show in
show.
Minneapolis. Yeah.
I mean, pretty much every show that they've got, but that's why. It's because of that. Just it's the spontaneity of it. And it really is for that swinging of the fences. And honestly, if somebody trips on the way to the pitcher's mound, going the wrong direction, that can be just as good for me. I mean, it's something that, as I said, that's memorable. That's an experience that it's so long as they're okay with it.
Right. Right. Well, there's some downsides. The biggest downside is everybody and their mom videos the show now.
Well, there's that.
And so now when you swing for the fences and you miss, it's not like maybe how it used to be
Yeah.
2 years ago when it was like shared moment of fuckery between the audience and the musician. Now it's just maybe somebody doesn't notice that it was a train wreck, and now it's on YouTube forever, and then there it is. Just handfuls of clams for everyone to listen to. So yeah, there's a couple minuses.
I never really thought about that before. That's a shame. That's a shame, because there should be the opportunity to just sort of experiment and enjoy and just be in the moment.
I miss those days. I will say this though. I'm a hypocrite when it comes to that, because I got a good share of pet peeves at shows, but every time someone brings out the phone and like films, like we're right there. You could just be watching and really enjoying it. But and then you just see this. I hate it so much. It makes me feel like self-conscious, even though like I'm playing, but for some reason it makes me feel self-conscious, and I start to get bummed, like, why aren't you enjoying the show? Blah, 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 blah. And then the first thing I do when I get home is I look to see if anyone posted any video. Like, oh, cool, someone posted this video. That's awesome. So I'm a total hypocrite. If anyone knows me and heard me say that, like, don't feel bad. I'll look at you funny, but I'll go home and I'll be like, oh, they were so good to get this on video. Thanks.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I admit my mistakes, my problems. That's one of them.
It's a hard one though, because I'll usually record about 30 seconds. That's about as much as I'll do of any show, but I will do it every single time. And even while I'm doing it, I'm thinking, am I not in the moment? Am I not, although I was at a Father John Misty show, and he really, everyone off with the phones, everything sort of demanded it. And then out of the blue, someone didn't throw something at him, but threw something to him. Okay. And it went off his head, and Father John Misty says, please tell me somebody got that on video. Oh. They said, yeah, we do. We like to capture those. I mean, it's just we live differently today than we did 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years ago.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I do it too. I'm at a show I'm digging. Like, I won't sit there for 5 minutes, but grab a little bit, move on. So I know, I mean, I shouldn't talk. I get it. I understand that I'm hypocritical. I get it, but I can't help it. I've got demands. I'm a diva.
Get it. You've earned it. You've earned it, Richard. You've earned it.
Yeah, I have.
Now, I do want to ask you a little bit about, because you play with so many different kinds of music. Sure. Like, how do you get your head in the game for the difference between an Eric Koskinen and and Twilight Hours?
Oh, sure. Well, Twilight Hours is maybe a bad example, because that was a band I was in for a couple of years.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up both things, and I just merged them together. But look at my first question first. I'll ask about Twilight Hours.
Eric Koskinen and a Soda So.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I'll start by saying this. So I grew up in Louisiana, in Lafayette, Louisiana, and that's where I spent like the first 20 odd years of my life. And I didn't start playing music until a little later. But in that town, it's such a music town, and it's such a community music town. And it's really common for like 16-year-olds to have full-time working gigs, you know? And so when I started playing in clubs right away. And that's what I did for a lot of years. So it's you know, clubs, like playing with blues bands or working bands or cover bands or whatever. And when you're like a working musician, you know, you're basically just this gun for hire, and someone calls you up and they're like, hey, I'm playing at so-and-so, are you interested? And you're like, of course, you know, and you show up and you meet everybody, and then you play the gig, and then you're done, you know. That's a super common thing. It's not unusual, but that's how I made my living for a really long time. So I'm more used to playing with different people than I am with the same people. And as I get older and I got better, my career, I'm going to put big air quotes around the word career, because, you know, just hope it keeps going. But it's just always been playing with other people. So for me, that's kind of the default. The thing about playing with different people is, over the years, you realize like how much music is the same, and you learn how to read people, you know, musicians, and especially like the leaders or the singers or the people who are guiding you through the song. You learn how to read their cues, and if they want things more aggressive or less aggressive, or you know, softer or quieter, faster, you know, whatever. And it's just a lot of experience of doing that. You're constantly working with different people, and one of the things that gets you through that is to absorb and reflect the genre of the music that you're playing as well as you can, right? So if I was just doing working gigs, like back in the day when I was doing a bunch of working gigs, it might be like a blues band one night and then like a country band the other night or whatever. And, you know, I wouldn't know any of these songs, you know. Blues in a working job type of blues thing, that's very easy, because it's like you got 3 forms and you just work your way through them. But like with country music, I don't really listen to a lot of country, so I had to listen to a lot of it, you know, learn some songs, but you start to be familiar with how these feels go, like, you know, which music needs to be straighter time, and which music needs looser time, and which music has bigger drum sounds, and which music has, you know, whatever. So you just do that through years and years of experience. So now for me, it's a little bit of a hybrid, because I tend to be in this kind of spot. Well, I'm saying, when I was younger, I was more concerned with being like the perfect drummer for the gig, right? And so if I played a show that was learning someone else's music, like if I was doing a show for an original singer-songwriter and I had to learn like 20 of their songs, you know, I would try to learn those very authentically, not only to the parts, but to the feel of the original drums, right? If I didn't play on it originally. Or if I was doing a cover band, I would want to be like the best drummer in that position. And nowadays, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting lazy, or I'm just feeling more confident, or what. I really don't know. But I just kind of look at it like, if I'm taking a show, I want to play the forms and the arrangements, and I want to give the artist what they're expecting, but I also want to inflect a little bit more of my own personality into it. You know, like, you hired me, so you might as well get a little bit of me, not just something any schmo could do. And so there's a little less of that shift from genre to genre, you know. I try to blur the lines a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it's so, that is kind of a long way to answer that, but I guess it's just saying, oh, hang on. The host has asked me to start my video. Did it get unstarted?
We're not sure. We'll worry about that in the recording. We've been able to hear you beautifully, but sometimes you've been frozen. But the audio's been awesome, and that's
man, I knew this whole thing would blow up. Okay, Just stop me again if
Now
you do
we've
that.
got more of you again, which is what you were
Okay.
saying. It's
Okay.
funny because I know what you, I mean, even in my work, I used to, when I'd have to do a proper, a presentation of something, oh my God, I'd put hours and hours and hours into it. And now I'm like, give me the topic.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
part of it is that you've done it so long and the confidence and even in my work, my day job is not at all musical or artistic or anything, but I'm like, I know what the questions, I know what the flow is. I know what the feel
Sure.
is. I can
Yeah.
read the room,
Yeah. But there is major differences. Like in the last few, I'm trying to think of the shows I've done. What are the shows? You probably know more than I do. What the heck shows I played in the last couple of weeks? I did
Some
a
Eric
few
Koskinen this month,
Eric
and
Koskinen this week, and I played with
Mary
Mary a
Bew.
couple of days ago. There was one other, and I can't remember it now. But it doesn't matter. So but just to use Mary and Eric as the comparison, right? Now those, I wouldn't call those like working. I have ongoing relationships with both of those bands. But I know that with Eric, we approach the arrangements of the songs are a little more concrete than the performances of them, which are a little more improvisational. So you have a framework to build off of, and 90% of what I play that night is informed by listening to what Eric is doing and then trying to do my best to have this conversation with him, yet on stage. Whereas with Mary, Mary's is shaped a little different because I played on the record of the songs that we're performing, and those songs they're really rooted in kind of a pop feel. And so while there is a little bit of freedom on drums to express yourself a little more, like the songs honestly sound better to me if you stay closer to the confines of that. So with Mary, my time might be a little bit straighter. My backbeat snare hits, might be a little more consistent, maybe, I'll still find ways to do different things when I can, but you approach those genres a little bit different. Yeah.
That's super interesting to me. When you say it out loud, it seems so obvious, but yeah, that makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to backtrack and ask a little bit about the Twilight Hours because
oh yeah,
I love so much of what you guys did.
I did too. I had a really good time when I played with that band. I played with them for longer than I realized. It was a few years. So yeah, what would you like to know about them?
Well, why don't you tell folks who maybe haven't seen them.
Oh, well, I'm not in the band anymore, so
but before it's
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but I'll talk a little bit about my experience with it. So I knew John Munson for a while before Twilight Hours because of and just for anyone who's listening and doesn't know what the Twilight Hours are. Twilight Hours is basically the rock band side like it's not the real continuation of, but it's like the emotional continuation of Trip Shakespeare. So it's Matt Wilson, a brilliant singer, songwriter, performer, and John Munson, and then associated band of badasses. And so anyway, so I knew John before. We worked together on a few things, and then he got me on Wits, which I was part of the house band for a long time. And through our relationship, just basically, they needed a drummer. That's kind of what it was. They needed a drummer. Steve Rome, vibraphone player on Wits, but a great drummer in his own right. He was doing drums. He was going to switch to guitar. They wanted to flesh out the band a little bit bigger. And so they asked me to go and play some songs. And it was amazing because I'm not from here. I've been in Minneapolis now a really long time, maybe 15 years. But a lot of the bands that are really well known to people who have been here their entire life, I don't really know, right? And hang on, is my video frozen again?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, God dang it! I don't know how to make it stop that.
We'll just try it again. We didn't want to interrupt you because, as I said, the audio is great. So what can we do?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll
Okay.
just keep
You're
chatting.
back.
So, does it happen all the time? I'll stop making so many hand gestures if that's the case. Okay, I'll keep chatting. So anyway, so a lot of these bands I didn't know, I wasn't familiar with. All these bands that people have a real strong opinion of. I was like, I don't know anything about them. And one of them was Trip Shakespeare. So we were going to play our first show as kind of like a trial, and it was in Lutzen at Papa Charlie's, and it was
Ooh.
just a trio. It was Matt and John and myself on drums. And so they say, hey, here's the song list. Here's the album we're working on, which was Black Beauty. And there's if you wouldn't mind learning a couple of Trip Shakespeare songs too. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I go and I listen to this Trip Shakespeare song, which is called Lulu. And I was like, I have no idea what the fuck is going on drums, but this is the most amazing song I've heard in my entire life. It was like a opera, like Jimmy, beautiful Queen / rock opera thing. And the drums were so backwards. I was like, this is amazing. I couldn't figure it out. So I'm in like the hotel room and looking up like old Trip Shakespeare videos online, you know? And I find a video of them. And so it's Elaine, I don't know Elaine's last name, I'm sorry. Elaine playing drums. They're all kids. Matt's got a shirt undone and he's just like going to town. And it was the most incredible thing I had seen in my life. And I saw John the next day and I was like, John, why didn't you tell me you guys? Everybody's always talking about you. You guys were fucking incredible. So that's what happened. And so I learned the song barely, and we played for a really long time. We played for a couple of years. I mean, we got as far as to record a bunch of songs, which never turned into Twilight Hours songs. It was about 2 years of playing together, or a year and a half or something. And we recorded a bunch of songs in these arrangements that we had worked up over the years, you know? And when it was done, the truth is, like, Matt, he just didn't like them. Which is not that there's anything wrong with the song. It's just, you know, Matt is the writer. He's like, yeah. He's the guy who's creating all these beautiful songs. And he was just like listening to them and not into it at all. It just wasn't what he was hearing in his head. And what he was hearing in his head is the band he has now, which is the Matt Wilson and his orchestra. Matt Wilson and his orchestra. Yep. Which I don't know if you guys have heard that, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely everything those songs should have been. And so yeah, it's just great. It's really good. So I don't blame him for not digging it, you know. I mean, it was frustrating at the time because I played on it. I was like, come on, it's so good. But if you're writing that and you need it to be what you hear, otherwise what's the point in putting it out into the universe, you know? And so Matt did. And yeah, boy, they're so good. They're so good. But anyway, those 2 years in Twilight Hours were really, really fun. The songs were incredible. The band was really good. We did a lot of like singing work. Just we all would get together and just work, like boot camp, working on our harmony singing. Because you know, you got, that's really, like, I'm a pretty bad harmony singer. I sing harmony, but like I'm not really good. And you got like Matt Wilson on one hand and you got John Munson on the other, like just two distinctive voices, you know what I mean? And they're singing these blah, blah, and you gotta fit right between them.
Yeah.
You know, and you see the disappointment in their eyes, and like, I think we can do it better. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed that time because I've never, with very few exceptions, been in a band. You know, like I am a working dude. So it was really fun to be like in a band for a while, like a band, you know? So I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a good time. Thanks for bringing that up.
One of my questions was that I wrote down was, has working with all these people, was there an artist that pushed you out of your comfort zone, even though, you know, you are brilliant as you
Yeah.
are, and you answered that, but do you have, I mean, besides I'm getting sweaty for you as you're telling,
I mean,
I can't imagine.
yeah, but I have to, somebody, I say somebody, but I think it was my wife. I think I was chatting with, we were just talking about like what we do, like the stupidness of what we do, and I was saying how being pushed to do something I don't know how to do is like my greatest thrill in music. It's the most fun. It really is. And I think it comes down to the fact like I'm a really bad practicer. I don't do it. I should. Anyone who has heard me knows.
I was gonna say, no, this is not kid friendly. Nobody wants their kid to hear this.
Yeah, no. Yeah, kids always practice your music,
Always
but
practice.
I don't. I did when I had time, but I don't.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that I feel everyone could be so much better at it if we all just practiced for a little while. But it's not that I don't enjoy practicing, or I feel like guilty about it, kind of sometimes. Like, oh, I could be working and earning money, but instead I'm just goofing around here, like learning how to play the bass or working on a paradiddle, or something. So I don't. But what I do a lot is I always try to push myself creatively, and so, or technically. And so if I am in a position like with the Twilight Hours, and they're like, "Can you sing?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I can sing." "Can you sing good?" "Well, I can sing like pretty good, and and actually being forced to work on it, to the point where I'm actively working really hard to be a good singer. Like I love that. It's a really good thrill. You just keep pushing that start my video button.
What's unfortunate is I don't know whether the videos will show through in the recording of it. So we'll just keep.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you what it is. It's probably because I'm going through my fancy camera setup, because I don't have a webcam at my studio. I just have like my really expensive video camera. And I don't think my internet connection is I don't think it's ready
for all of that.
Yeah.
For all that 4G.
Wish I should use the opposite to hide all my gray hair.
No.
So that is super fun to do, to be able to play those things, and to be in a position like to play with with anyone. You asked if there's anyone specifically that pushes me to do more, but I like to think like most of the people that I work with, if they're not specifically pushing me to get out of my comfort zone or to learn something hard to do or harder for me to understand, then I'm usually looking for it myself, But Eric is definitely one of those who pushes me a lot. My friend Teddy, who I mentioned earlier, Teddy Morgan, is a very instrumental part of me getting to that position within myself. Like when I met him and we started touring, I was pretty young, and we were both like looking for new avenues of how to be musicians, and we really pushed ourselves, so he was very instrumental in that. And yeah, I guess just I'm thankful, most people that I've worked with, I have to push myself somehow, not like technically, I'm not like sitting down behind the drums and firing off like hot licks, but just mostly it's either like creatively, like what can I do to this song to make it better? Or how do I not play the same stupid fill 3 times in a row? Or how do I make this song more energetic, or how do we make it sadder? All those things are like, they're hard for me mentally to think of how to do that. So I'm not good at it, but I try. I try to be really good.
I wouldn't say that, but it's if you don't work on your muscles, you don't get. I'm the same way. If you don't use it, then
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because this is where I usually say, now tell us when your new album is coming out. But it's what I will say before I kind of ask the last question is I'll put this in the notes, but where can people find you online?
I have a very bad internet presence. No, I have a very bad social media presence because I'm off of most of it these days. So I am on Instagram, but really richardmedek.com is the easiest way to find something that hasn't been updated in a while. And bonesandwire.com is the name of like my studio slash side project sort of thing. Basically anything I do that I'm not playing drums, I do under the Bones and Wire umbrella. And
Yeah, you do some interesting stuff there.
Gasoline video.
what's that?
I was gonna say I love the gasoline video.
Oh, thanks. Thank
That
you.
is really cool. I gotta dive deeper
I have
into
to tell
that.
you, if I could monetize those videos, that is all I would do with my life. I would only do those things. They're so pointless and fun, but I love doing them. I have like 10 more of those that I don't publish.
Oh, please do. Like, do one every week or something since you have so much time.
I well, I ran out of time to do them, but those all have a backstory, basically. Any of those videos that you see, it'll usually be like some form of public domain video with music behind it. That's me practicing. Like generally what happens is I get to the studio and I'm like, I have to work on this being whatever this is. And I don't want to do it because it's not fun. So what I'll usually do is I'll make some sort of music behind it. Like if I'm trying to practice this feel on drums, I'll make like a track that I can practice the feel of. Or if I just bought a new microphone and I need to see how it interacts in my room, I'll record a song with the microphone, you know? And so I'll make those, and then I just save them. I've got like hundreds of these little like music projects, you know? And then I'll listen back a couple weeks later, and if it's terrible, which like most of them are terrible, then I just delete them. Nobody ever needs to hear them. But if I like them, and I'm like, this is kind of good, like I kind of want to listen to this again, I'll usually make it, like I'll hook it up to a video of some kind. I'll edit a video. So the video is just like a means to an end, really. But it's surprising like how easy it is to find free resources out there in the world that sort of match the intent of the music you're making, or maybe you didn't know the music was supposed to do that, and now all of a sudden it's the story about a little gasoline drop working his way to a kind of sad demise, you know? Yeah, and then I'll publish it. So like every time, like, so that video is, I just moved into this space, and I just set up all my mics, and I was like, I need to record something right now because I have no idea if this is going to sound good or bad. So that's what I recorded, and yeah, I thought it sounded fun. It's so much fun to do, but that's like, talk about selfish music. It's like, nobody needs to hear this. Nobody wants to hear this. I don't even know what this is. I just know that I did it 2 weeks ago and it was super fun. And maybe somebody else will giggle at this. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I got a whole grip of those I haven't published yet.
I can't wait to see it. I have one question though, since we all feel like we're stuck in Groundhog's Day, living something over and over. A musical moment or whatever you wouldn't hate to be stuck in that you have been part of. Where you could be like, I want to live in this space right here. It feels good. I'm sure you have more than one, but one that is right there off the top of your head.
Like, wait, one that I would hate to be stuck in again, or one that I would love to be stuck in?
No, that you would not hate.
Oh,
I heard that differently too, Richard.
Oh,
you could have had a very.
That's why I was laughing. I thought, I'm about to out all the people I hate.
No.
You answered
I love all you guys.
To.
I'm so lucky that anyone wants to hear me play drums. I can tell you something I hate doing, and I can tell you something that I love doing, and both of those things are pandemic and studio driven. So the thing that I hate more than anything in this world is remote sessions. I hate them so much. I can't even describe how bad they are. They're just so demoralizing. So a remote session, for those of you guys, who don't know this, this was a pre-pandemic thing, right? Drummers are really complicated to record with because we're expensive. And it's not that we are expensive, it's that if you want to record drums and you want them to sound really good, you have to go to a studio with a bunch of mics, and those are really expensive. And if you want it to sound extra good, it has to be a real fancy studio because they build these rooms, like drums have a certain sound in a room, right? And so for years, the trend has been for remote sessions. Drummers have been building their own studios and they've been outfitting it, and people email them songs, and then you listen to the song and you record it by yourself, and then you email it back and you see if they like it and you make any changes. That's a remote session. And when COVID hit, those really got super popular because we had to. It's like the only way to make music. And when I mean, for a long time, I've had little studio places off and on. So I've been collecting studio gear for a long time. But this is the first place I've had in a long time, which is really dedicated, and it sounds really good. And I've finally been able to afford a collection of mics and gear, which are really good. And so when COVID hit, I thought, I'm set up. I'll do remote sessions, and that will be how I get through this. And that's how I'm going to help pay my mortgage. And I hate remote sessions so much.
Aw.
I hate them. You're by yourself, like you get the song and you have to, and no one's there, so there's no feedback, right? And then you play a take and you're like, was that good? I don't know if that was good. There's no one here to tell me if it was good or bad. Maybe I should play another one. So you play another one, it's like, that was terrible. And so, and like, because I'm my own worst critic, I have like 25 takes of a song, right? And then I spent all night comping them together. Like if someone was paying me to show up into a studio and all I had to do was record one song, I could be in and out in less than an hour, you know? And now I'm like 12 hours in and I'm still, you know, and not everyone is like this, but that's what I'm like. And so I just hate it. So I actually, in the depths of the pandemic, I set up these cameras, which I'm learning are freezing up all the time, to do to be able to record sessions over Zoom so that we could at least see each other face to face. And that was fun. It's kind of like more work than it made sense to do financially. So I kind of stopped doing it. But yeah, if I never do another remote session for as long as I live, I'm into that. I'm into that. I love when people come to my studio to, you know, when it's just the artist and me, and we're doing drums on a record. That's my favorite thing in the world. I just love recording, you know, and that's really fun. I did Chris Koza's last amazing record, Sleepwalkers, here. That was one of the first full-length albums that I did here on drums, you know, where it was all the drums were recorded, and a handful of others. Most of them aren't released yet, so I don't have anything to plug. But yeah, so remote session. Never want to see a remote session again. Hate them. and the thing that I love to do. I'm sorry I'm making all these things so long. Nobody's going to watch all the way to the end. So the thing about COVID, which was a pre-COVID, this started pre-COVID, but it became more important during COVID, was when I got this space, which it's so dumb, but like I owe a lot to this space. I really do. I'm really lucky to be in here. It's very rare that a drummer with a shit ton of gear and who needs space like has a creative place to work, you know. But when I leased this place here, it dawned on me that I could kind of do whatever I wanted because I finally had like a creative space to do things. And I started an album project, which was an offshoot of those silly videos that I told you about earlier, right? Where basically I would make a silly piece of music, and if I liked it, but I heard someone else on it, then I would flesh out the song to feature them. Right. And I got as far as finishing one into it. It's not released yet. It's probably the best piece of music that I personally have recorded because I'm not much of a songwriter. But it's really fun. It features Chrissy Bergmark, who's a tabla player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know her.
She often plays with Paul Metzger.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has a band, Sprig of That, who performs around the cities, and she lives in Chicago now. But she's so great, so great. And I met. It's funny. I haven't really known her that long, but we met and sort of like vibed right away. And so I wrote the song. I thought of her, and that sort of like birthed this project. So
awesome.
I got as far as recording it. So I have a piece of music with her being amazing on it. And I was gonna make this video that like wasn't gonna be a big deal. I was gonna film like a dancer, and it was gonna be a whole thing. And then COVID hit, and so all that got waylaid. And then I had in my mind a lineup of musicians that I wanted to bring on to do this with me. Because the idea is that I get to work with all these incredible people who, to me, don't have what I want the world to see of them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
nice.
It could be, it doesn't have to be like a big deal. It's just like, man, I work with this person. They're so good at this thing. And maybe the thing you see them in isn't what I'm hearing. And I want to produce something for you to hear. So I can like just talk how good I think this person is.
Yeah.
That's the gist of this project. And then I kind of had a lineup in mind, and then the next guy who I was making plans with, he passed away during COVID, which was my friend Big George Jackson. So that was really depressing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I miss George. Love you, George. But you know, the idea, like, oh, I really wanted to show the world like how awesome he was, you know. And then COVID kind of hit again and again, and it's just the plans got waylaid. But literally every other day, I'm thinking to myself, how do I finish that project? How do I make that go? And I think that if I had my druthers, having known what it means to have to find different routes to a personal connection through the pandemic, it would be to finish this stupid project and just kind of help the world see it. I would love to just, you know, I've had people say, you should write a grant, you know, I'm like, that's just kind of selfish. Plus I don't want to owe anyone money. You know, I just want to be able to say thank you, other musicians, for being incredible and like being inspiring, because it's this sort of connection that gets me through the day, you know. I'm getting real out there with this one. Sorry, I'm just thinking about how cool music is.
I love it, because I think it's, like you said, shows all of us that might not know they do this other thing, but you do. It's a benefit for them also, and a special moment for you.
Yeah. It really is. Like, the thing about it is, like, it will make no money, right? And it will have very, very little audience. So it really it's just kind of like, it's just a big love letter to my friends and people that I know, you know. So I have a quiet new list of people that I want to bring in here that I'm trying to flesh out if I can actually commit the time, because I'm really bad at like thinking of projects and then not having the resources to be able to finish them, you know. And the truth of the matter is, like, at the end of the day, the thing that pays the bills is playing drums, you know, for other people. So when that gets busy, like, that's what I have to do. I mean, not what I have to do. I love to do. Thank you, people who want to hear me play drums for you.
Right.
So yeah,
well, it's fun to think about that happening. We'll send good vibes. We'll send good vibes your way.
I know. I'm just gonna assume it's gonna happen one day. The least I got to do is I got to finish Chrissy's song, because Christmas, it's so great. I love it to death, and she's so fantastic. So I owe that to her. I just got to think of an idea. But yeah, I'm into hoping it happens too. So I'll stay optimistic.
Well, good. Well, we'll leave it on a note of hope.
All right.
Yeah, Richard, thank you. We knew this would be fun.
I know. God, I feel like there's so many more things I could have told you.
I know you might have to
Speaking
come
stories.
back.
Yeah, you'll be our Monday special.
I'll have
Our
to-
presidency.
I'll have to work on my internet access, but I'll do my best.
We will.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I hope anyone enjoys listening to this.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to talk and talk about this stuff. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah.